And this record, and I probably should introduce myself. My name is RJ Panesi. I work here in our Career and Professional Development office at WGU. Excited for a fantastic session ahead of us. I know a lot of us, we usually will run an entrepreneurial week where we celebrate different alumni that, have taken that jump. But we felt this was a great opportunity to do it outside of that set week. So we have a great session ahead of us. As I mentioned, sessions being recorded. That recording will be sent out probably tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. Also attached to it is going to be a questionnaire. It's a 2-question questionnaire. We're constantly seeking your feedback, students and alumni. So we would appreciate it if you took the time, filled that out. I'll also share that in the chat towards the end of the session. As you can see, the chat is open and we certainly want you to participate. There will be a designated Q&A at the end of the session. So if you do have questions, feel free to post those into the chat. We'll read those off. And any questions that we don't get to, certainly we will get those over to Andrew and get those answered at a later date. But from here, like I said, we certainly want you to get connected, share your LinkedIn, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention and give the alumni team a shout out for sending Andrew our way. So Danielle, who represents us here in the Northeast, was able to come across Andrew's story and get us connected. So appreciate her for doing that. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Andrew. Andrew, the floor is yours. Like I said, we are very excited to hear this story. I know a few of my colleagues have jumped in here, and they're really giddy about hearing how this whole thing got started.
Well, thank you, RJ. Appreciate you, and thanks for letting me come talk to you guys today. I'm going to share a little screen here. All right. Let me know if you can see it.
We can.
All right. All right. Hey guys, my name is Dr. Andrew Tisser, and I'm going to talk to you guys about my crazy little project and how my MBA through WGU helped with the development and the current business. I'm going to try and make this a little bit interactive. So RJ, if you could run the chat for me. It's more fun that way. So please do try to interact. So before we start, I just want one word that describes how you're feeling about your future career. Excited, anxious, dread, burnt out, curious, ready, whatever. And then RJ, if we get a couple, if you could just read a couple off to me.
Oh yeah, we got hopeful, ready and excited, uncertain, bleak, curious,
Love it.
unsure, excited, little mixed bag.
I love a mixed bag. That's perfect. So the truth is, every one of those words is exactly where entrepreneurship begins. So let's get started. So this slide, just take this all in for a minute. Emergency room to hot dogs. Now, if that isn't the craziest sentence you ever heard, I don't know where you've been hanging out, but I want to hang out with you. So when people see this, they say, you got to be joking. But the interesting point about this slide, and the point I want to make, is that your entrepreneurial career will take many different paths. You'll go up, you'll go sideways, you'll go diagonal, you'll go maybe to hot dogs. I don't know. But it's not going to be a straight line. And that's the fun part. And can anyone in the chat tell me if they have had a up and down, sideways, diagonal, crazy path? Maybe just share a couple of words of what that might have looked like, because I'd love to know. Because mine certainly, I don't even know what shape mine would be. If not, that's okay.
We'll give them a second to type out here.
Yeah. We could just admire the rosemary and the cocktail and everything aioli on the apple.
Oh, Matt, I like this. Military to public safety to healthcare to IT.
Wow. Yeah. See, look at that. Again, a strange shape, but every part of your career helps the next one, right? Even if they don't exactly connect. So who am I? How did this happen? Let's talk about the pieces. So who am I? First, actually, I didn't introduce the real CEO of this company. This is Franklin Von Drank. He is a very dapper fellow, and he actually runs the business and just tells me what to do, as he is behind me as well to make sure I don't slander his good name. So thank you, Franklin, for the opportunity. But I introduced myself in this order. I'm a husband to a much smarter wife than I am a husband. I'm a father of 2 young children. I have a almost 5-year-old and a just turned 1-year-old. I've got a 1-year-old puppy because it wasn't crazy enough. I'm an emergency physician by training. I'm a medical director in the insurance industry. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a WGU MBA alum and a co-founder of Franks and Dranks. And not because hot dogs are my calling. I mean, that would be a crazy thing to say, but entrepreneurship is about building something based on the different pieces that you bring to the table. And I remember the first time I talked to anybody about this, laughter. And ever since then, anytime I talk to people about this hot dog and cocktail company, laughter. And then the next is a and then after that, it's a oh, that's pretty awesome. And then hopefully it's a where do I get one, right? So how do you guys introduce yourself? What is maybe a couple of words, 1 to 2 words as that would be top of your list? How do you introduce yourself? No wrong answers. Could be like thief, I guess would probably be a wrong answer to start with. But yeah, how do you guys introduce yourself? Hot dog aficionado, I'm not sure.
I got an MBA student, mom, doc, teacher, student, manager, forever student.
Love it. Perfect. Perfect. And all, no wrong answers, right? So why WGU? Well, probably for a lot of the same reasons you guys are either went to or are associated with or alum of WGU, right? Flexibility, affordability, the competency-based curriculum, I think, was amazing. Built for adults with careers and families and real life applicability. I remember I was working in the hospital. I was a medical director, and I talked to my chief medical officer, and he's like, if you want to advance, you need an MBA. And I was like, okay. But he's like, go find one that fits with your life. You don't have to go to Yale. You don't have to go to Wharton. And so I did some research. I found WGU. I actually talked to another physician who went through the program and loved it. And I really, really loved it. I really did. I thought it was so much fun. Let's talk about what WGU gave me. It didn't just teach me about the business vocabulary, but it taught me about function. So I don't have to read you the slide, but systems thinking, lean operations, this whole business we're running is lean. Supply chain, man, when I got to the supply chain module in my MBA, I was like, there is never in a million years am I going to use this material. Well, turns out it's very complicated to ship frozen hot dogs to California. Okay. So never say never. Waste minimization, MVP theory, which we'll get into a little later in the talk, customer discovery, still very important to us, data-driven decision-making, business writing, project management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Does anybody love supply chain? Can I get a emoji or something if you love supply chain? Nothing against you. I just, it's the bane of my existence. Could be cool if you love it. Accounting was also really difficult, I thought.
Nobody has
nobody loves
it. A necessary evil. There we go.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's talk about the origin story because you guys are dying to know, right? So one day, it was in the summer, my wife was talking to some friends and she said, we're gonna have a wine and cheese party. So me and my buddy Ryan, our now chief operating officer, are like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna have a hot dog and cocktail party. And ha 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 ha, that's hilarious. But you know what? We did it. We had a hot dog and cocktail party that summer, and it was crazy. It was over the top, gourmet builds, interesting recipes, and everyone had so much fun. And then we did it again, and then we did it again, and every year it got crazier. And like half the year was spent talking about the hot dog party. And then people started telling us, "Hey, could we have a hot dog party?" So then we started thinking that there might be a business here, right? And so we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I think here I want to stop and just say, if you think your idea is too weird, I think that's a good sign, right? But anyway, so we decided we were going to have hot dog parties for other people, right? So we were going to go to their house and we would design like a curated menu and provide the hot dogs and cocktails, and people would host at their house. And then New York State was like, no, you will not. So we had a massive licensing phase plant, and very challenging to become a catering company with no brick and mortar, getting through liquor laws. It was a non-starter. Okay. And so we thought we were dead in the water. But then we realized we had an idea. We had something good, but we had to do our first pivot. So we were talking and trying to figure it out. And then actually my wife said, well, why don't you box them up, ship them around the country, and let everybody have their own party? Like, wow, that's a pretty good idea. So what did we do next? MVP, right? Minimum viable product. So he started getting into us. We got scrappy. So first, we were going to do slider size hot dogs, mini hot dogs, little drinks. Sounds great. Can't do it. All right. There's like one company that makes slider size hot dogs. I'm not going to name them. And another local company said, sure, we will give you slider size hot dogs, but you have to guarantee us 1 million pounds as your minimum order. Does anybody know? This is not an actual question, but I'm just saying 1 million pounds of half-size hot dogs is a lot of hot dogs. So that didn't work out. And we're like, we're going to do 4 full-size hot dogs. Yeah, well, you know what? We like eating. Sometimes at these parties, we'd eat 4 or 5 of these things, but that is not the normal human experience, okay? That was too many. So we started collecting data. We were doing friends-only tasting, iterating everything. Rapidly iterating all our different things, interviewing customers, collecting data, because data, as we learn in our coursework, is so much more important than ego, right? Because you may disagree with the data, but the market doesn't care what you think or what you like. Entrepreneurs don't get stuck because they fail. They get stuck because they refuse to let data win over their opinion. Right. So if the market tells you one thing and you say to it, no, definitely it's got to be this way. Well, guess what? You're wrong. Can anyone type yes if they're willing to share, if they've ever held on to an idea so long, even though it was bad, because it was yours? It was your idea, so you held on to it for way too long. I still want to make slider hot dogs, but so be it.
Oh, the yeses are pouring in here.
That's part of the human experience, right? You don't even want to know how many I've had. All right. So, man, the unsexy truth of entrepreneurship is this slide. Supply chain. All right, there's nobody who could, you'd think there would be somebody who could tell you this, but there is nobody who could tell you how exactly to ship frozen hot dogs, cold buns, and shelf-stable condiments across the country using UPS 2-day shipping. You'd think that somebody would be able to tell you this, but there is nobody who could tell you this, all right? So we had to get into cold chain basics, and it is very complicated with a lot of regulations and licensing, especially shipping across state lines. Weighing boxes, freeze thaw cycles, ingredient sourcing, packaging failures. Our first box that we sent to somebody got there in like a puddle of slime. And me and Ryan were like, we're done. But no, we were just early, right? And turns out you shouldn't do a test of a box that's supposed to be shipped by UPS 2 days by just putting it in your trunk for 2 days in the 100-degree heat. That is not a good test. Okay, so we learned all this the hard way. We wasted a lot of product, packaging failures, simple things like you should tape the cooler shut, because otherwise, I don't know what happens in these trucks, but these boxes get thrown up into the air supposedly. Everything falls out and breaks, you know. Shipping simulations, we ship them to each other, we ship them to friends. Fail, until we finally found a model that worked. You know, really not a lot of fun. Then we were ready. Okay, we spent 6 months getting everything together, and we're like, we are going to launch in August, because we set this arbitrary deadline for ourselves for no apparent reason, but we did it. and we're going to have this amazing party, the best party we ever were going to have. Beautiful, expensive, elaborate, over the top. It was like a Michelin pop-up meets a speakeasy, okay? We had that guy pop up there. It was gorgeous, and people loved it. They had so much fun. The feedback was incredible. And I want you to guess how many paid orders we got. And we're going to do Price is Right rules.
Five, 8, 2, over 2,000.
Oh, man.
7, 30, 1, 25, 12, 3.
Who said 1?
Zach Miller.
Zach Miller. I'm going to send you a Franklin Von Drank magnet. 0 orders. You win because you were closest. Okay. We spent so much money on this party. It was 40. It was 40 people. And people talked about, are still talking about this party months and months later. But you can have unbelievable buzz, and you can learn the hard way, though, that enthusiasm does not equal conversion. All right. So we adjusted and we kept moving. Oh, man, it was fun, though. Next problem, 2-day shipping to California, okay? 2-day shipping should get there in 2 days. Our cold chain holds up for 2 days. It does not hold up past 2 days. It especially does not hold up 40 hours past our supposed arrival time because UPS lost it somewhere to California in the summer. I don't know if anything could make that work. So really, we basically paid UPS for a murder mystery. Okay, this thing was disgusting when it arrived. But the universe doesn't care about your business. The systems don't care. You have to create strong systems that built in waste constantly, right? We talk about the percentage waste we should always calculate. Yeah, we didn't do that. You got it, because of things like this. And then the web developer saga, right? So we got this great, highly rated freelancer. We sent him all of our stuff. He's like mocked up this website for us. It was beautiful. We paid him half. And then he, quote, finishes it. And it is garbage. It doesn't work. Like a developer friend of mine said that in order to make a website not mobile friendly nowadays, you have to actively try. But this thing broke on mobile, didn't work at all. You know, every founder has a project that taught them the biggest lesson. This one, scope creep, misaligned expectations, assets, deliverables. We didn't do all this, but this really made us focus on the business as a business and not a hobby. But entrepreneurship is just really a series of increasingly expensive lessons until you tighten everything up. But yeah, and then he thought it was done, and it was really fun. So that was not the best. Then the next issue we ran into, we asked ourselves like this real grown-up business question: do we want to be volume / cheap, or do we want to be premium? Right. And when we're talking about a premium product, we have to really think about our COGS and margin analysis, right? Cold chain costs way higher than we originally predicted. Packaging quality, can't have any shortcuts. And what are acceptable small margins? And what's the lowest we can go and actually have a viable business? Premium, smaller margins. But that's what we decided in the end. So if you guys were starting a business today, I want to know, just throw P in there for premium or V for volume. What would you lean towards? Just for fun.
A lot of P's.
A lot of premiums, man. Premium's tough, But look at those drinks. They're beautiful. Part of our recent fall and winter collection. Any V's in there?
1 V from Laura.
And Laura might have it right, If we're talking margin, she certainly does.
Ben said P and V.
Okay. Well, That is certainly the dream. Depends on your product. Digital products can probably get there. All right. And then we were scattered, right? We were each doing a little bit of, like, you think of startups, everybody's got their hand in everything, right? But it is really difficult when everyone's in each other's lanes. And it really started taking off for us when we were able to subdivide our roles, right? So my role as CEO is partnerships, strategic alliances, vision, growth. Shane took visuals and photography and aesthetics, and Ryan is doing operations, fulfillment, supply chain, more of the financials, right? But that really helped us get out of this scattered, like, well, oh, maybe I'll throw up an Instagram post, or hey, did we pay the credit card bill? Like a lot of that when you have predefined roles. And we didn't have any paid ads. We didn't have a TikTok engine. We didn't have an agency to run it for us. We're just the three of us doing all this after 5 p.m. when our jobs are over, and probably after 8 p.m. when our kids are in bed. So division of labor really helped us. Man, do I hate Instagram though. Okay. So we bootstrapped this thing. Okay. We could have each thrown down like $10,000, $20,000 seed money, hired an ad agency and done it that way. But that's not what we wanted to do. And kind of a hard sell, I think, to our families to drop 20G on starting a hot dog business, but no paid ads, no social media machine, zero TikTok. I mean, if any of you guys are really good at Instagram or TikTok, let me know if you're looking for some work on the side. But I just hate it. I hate Instagram so much. And you got to play to your strengths, right? I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at forming relationships. But I am not good at Instagram. And so when we started playing to our strengths, shifting to grassroots and direct response marketing really helped us, right? We live in Buffalo, and anyone who knows anything about Buffalo or any blue collar towns there is an incredible amount of pride. So honestly, handing out flyers, calling people, talking to them about the business, that really is what changed things for us more so than social media is a long game, unless you've got someone doing it for you. But at the same time, entrepreneurship doesn't care what you like or don't like. You got to do what works. And that really led us to a fairly large realization, and what worked is B2B. And so right now we're in the process of looking into 2026 with a focus on B2B, because businesses were telling us that they really enjoy, they're looking for connection, and they're looking for something different than a sheet pizza at lunch, right? Corporate team events, campus events, alumni activation nights, sponsor community events, fundraisers. We're currently running a Thank a Hero campaign where local businesses are sponsoring fire departments. And so local businesses are able to get the goodwill, their philanthropy, the marketing hit, and our firefighters get to have a hot dog and cocktail night that they love. We're doing a fundraising event in the spring at a campus for their big give event. So things like that have worked well for us, and they play to my strengths as forming relationships. And LinkedIn, man, LinkedIn's my baby. I love LinkedIn. So really, I threw mine on the chat as well. So any of you guys hit me up, please. So pivots aren't detours, right? Pivots are the business. It is the new business. That is what it has become. And so that's fine. And now we have B2C support. We're still sending kits to people's homes, and people are loving them. But these bigger clients are really what I think is going to move the business to the next level. And what has WGU done, right? This is what brings this whole thing full circle. It didn't teach me how to build a hot dog business, but it taught me how to build and succeed in any business. Again, I'm not going to read you the slide, but some of these things that I'll point out here, especially leveraging networks. Look at this talk, right? Confident decision making. You just got to go with it, right? At some point, it's not going to be pretty, and you just got to move forward and deal. Forecasting and modeling viability have been very important. Risk analysis, it's all important. So I want to ask everyone here, which WGU skill that you've learned in your program has been the most valuable to you thus far? I bet we're going to get some cool answers here. as we look at our sage leaves. Is anybody getting hungry? I'm getting hungry.
All right, so we got finance and accounting, confident decision making,
Yes.
project management, strategic thinking,
Yes. That is a good one.
evaluating strengths and weaknesses, self-education. Oh, that's a great comment from Franco. Self-education. I've been beyond the covered material to learn what I actually want to learn. Ethical leadership, the power of consistency.
So good. Great. And like, you don't think about it when you're in it, right? When you're working towards the next paper or the next test or whatever. But it, it really, and I have a doctorate, right? And that taught me how to think. But WGU really, thinking in the business sense is so much different than what we're taught in medical school as well, and along the science realm. It really has helped me in multiple aspects of my life. So it's great. And so some lessons learned, your first idea is never your final business. We're still not at the final business. I can guarantee you that. Ship the messy version first, although ideally not like hot dog soup. Waste is the end. My God, just so you're like, well, this is just a $2 mustard, a $3 buns, and that stuff adds up so quickly. UPS is the bane of my existence, but they certainly will humble you. Relationships, at least I found that relationships are more important than ads. Going out and talking to people. Cash flow, not sexy, but survival, right? You have to think about your cash flow at all times. And then pivoting is not failure, it is the strategy. There's one night we lost like a whole batch of product, and I was like, Ryan, we should quit. Like this is crazy. And he's like, or we'll just like fix it tomorrow. And that's entrepreneurship in a nutshell. And some advice for you guys. Like my whole message here is that entrepreneurship is movement. It's not perfection. Start messy, start small, start before you feel you're ready, because the pivots are the stories you're going to be able to tell people and things like this. Like before I kind of get to the end here, maybe there's one thing, if you're willing to share, maybe there's one thing you could start this month. It doesn't have to be an entrepreneurial project, just something you could start that scares you just a little bit. Is anybody willing to share that?
Networking was one. Fractional CIO, PMO business. Pivot my brand to a different category because the current one isn't working out. I think I've been through so much heck. Nothing scares me anymore. Movie review app competitor to Letterboxd, my grilled cheese business. Redo my budgeting basics kit. I made that didn't go very far. What else we got? Plan on entry and exit strategy from the get-go. I'm meeting with another SBA to discuss my new ideas.
Awesome. I'm not special in any way. I'm stubborn. I test things. I fail at things. I break things. I fix them. I keep moving. And you don't need a perfect idea. You don't need permission from anybody. You just need direction and the willingness to take the leap, to take the risk. And then when you do, I hope you find me, and so I can say, hey, I was there when you were just thinking about it. But now look at you, right? And before we get into the Q&A, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. I just want to know, partners and I put something special together for the WGU community. So if anybody wants a unique team experience, a student group, a workplace or department event, just email us at info@franksandranks.com and mention WGU. We'll give you 10% off your order, as well as an upgrade to our premium package and priority dates. And if anybody wants to try our direct-to-consumer boxes that are shipped all over the country, Serve 4 to 8. Just use discount code WGU and give you 10% off your order. So we'll get into questions, and I'll just put that up there. You know, do I hate that Instagram? God.
Just a reminder to everyone, the session is being recorded, so that will be sent out. Please take advantage of this. I think, again, supporting our alumni community, you want to make sure that we're doing that. So definitely make sure to support. I am going to share our questionnaire. So if you do have a second, fill that out. We certainly would appreciate it. Give me a second to grab that. And Andrew, we already have questions coming in, so we'll dive right in once I share this. There is the link to the survey, so we certainly appreciate any feedback. First question that came in was from Mary. What should one do if they know or how confidence on how to start or lead a company, no matter what the company is, but does not have an idea on what to start? And that came in through the Q&A portion.
So I think the question is, you know how to run a business, but you don't know what kind of business to start or what kind of business to run. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, that's a tough question. I think the traditional teaching is think about pain points in your life, think about things that annoy you or other people, and work backwards to a solution from there. The other thing is think about your strengths, right? People always focus on weaknesses, like how can I get better at XYZ, but like, what are you really good at? And how can you leverage that to start a business, right? And a business doesn't need to be a physical product, right? There's the digital age of plenty of things you can think of. I don't think that's a great answer, but I think it's kind of a murky question to answer, unfortunately. But try to think about pain points for people and things you can solve, or go buy somebody else's business. What's next?
Next one is coming in from Laura. When do you know to abandon one business idea and move to another?
Well, when the market tells you that your idea is invalidated. So whether that be bleeding money, right? If you're losing money month over month, it's probably not a good idea to keep putting money into it unless this is a strategic decision, right? If your idea has been invalidated by the market, I guess is the best way to put it. If there are people, if you're doing research, do surveys, talk to people about your idea, not like, yeah, that's cool, but like, I would buy it, right? There's a big difference between that's a really cool idea and yes, I will spend money on that thing. Hopefully that's a helpful answer. Let's see. I can see the chat now. Is there a time window you give a product before you move on? I think that's a personal question, right? Some people will put time and some people will put dollars, right? I think when we started this thing, it was, well, if we each put in $5,000 and we blow all that, that'll probably be the end of us. I don't think time is necessarily the right answer, because sometimes it takes time to get traction and then things explode. Oh, all these businesses didn't go from 0 to 60 overnight. Yeah, I think I would put a dollar sign in front of that more so than a time, because at some point, if you're just wasting your time, I mean, that is capital in and of itself, and some costs you can think about, but you're not losing money. That's a personal call. And then, how likely is it to be a manager of a business but still work for someone? Like everything as an entrepreneur does, but still working for someone. How likely is it in this market? Be a manager of a business but still work for someone. I'm not really sure I understand the question. Like, you could be a COO, or you could be, you could look for C-level positions in businesses. Not really. Maybe we can get some more clarity on that question.
And I can chime in on that a little bit too. Mary, I think of when we did run our entrepreneurship week back in the spring. One of the presenters runs the events team for a large organization, not the top person within that company, but is in a position where they're doing a lot of this entrepreneurial work and having that entrepreneurial mindset. So that's something where like I think there are opportunities like that. And I think again, like especially with the current market, the way that it is, like networking is such a huge piece to it. I know that's like a buzzword, and everybody's like, yeah, of course, but really leaning into your own professional network and leading into this alumni community that we have here at WGU. I don't think enough people do that. We just hit 400,000 alumni nationwide. Like that's such a huge number. Like you look at some of the larger universities across the country, like, we're right there with them. So, I think that's an opportunity where if you had questions on, individuals that might be in those types of roles, like connect with them, try to set up a time to, grab a virtual coffee and kind of pick their brain and see how they landed where they're at. That might be helpful to kind of like steer you in that certain direction. So hopefully that at least helps. Penny had a question. Did you get funding? I know you said you chose not to self-fund at 20K, but did you request outside help?
No, we're self-funded at this point. We didn't self-fund at 20K, but we actually, one thing I didn't talk about is we started with 4 founders, and after the flop of the party, we dropped to 3 founders and dropped his equity stake down to 10%. But we self-funded at $2,000 each, and we've been okay with that. We're doing fine.
Next one's from Michael. At what point did you decide you needed external investment to grow versus continuing to try to fund your business on your own? And I think you just kind of touched on
it. We are currently not taking any external investment.
Next one is from Mason. I'm leveraging my C208 course to consult on my existing company, and boy, does it help. It's not working well. So I'm writing a hell of a change plan. This will work as one of the first proofs of my consulting ability. As I'm looking to target SMBs, where would you suggest I look for clients? I'll have my master's in management and leadership by the end of the year, and I have over 15 years of industry and 9 certifications.
Wow. Cool. I love LinkedIn. I really do. And I think there's so much nonsense on LinkedIn, but if you can cut through the noise, right? Like, not like I saw a snail today and it reminded me about these 4 leadership principles. Like, I'm not talking about that, but the actual ability to leverage your network, announce what you're doing. And then I still like direct outreach, not like, hey, you get all these messages like, hey, happy to connect. Can we grab a chat sometime? Can we grab a virtual coffee? Like, no, who are you? Like, I don't want to grab a virtual coffee with you. But if you can send a message like, this is what I'm building, would it be okay if I shared a little more information? You'll get a lot of no's, right? But some people will be like, sure. And if you have a simple 1-pager, like, I'll read a 1-pager. I'll take a pitch as long as it's not disguised as not a pitch. That's me. But if someone said, hey, I'm working on this thing, can I send you some more information? Sure. And you got to talk to a lot of people. And that's what I've done. So I would suggest LinkedIn and kind of targeting who you're looking for. The next question I saw is best version of marketing since you hate IG and TikTok. So I don't hate TikTok. I just we have no time to do so as 3 37-year-old dads. TikTok just requires so much work, and we're doing Instagram. We're putting out stuff. I just don't like it. But for me, old school direct response marketing, right? Flyers, mailers, direct phone calls. I put direct response LinkedIn into that as well. That's worked out the best for us. 3 business books we'd recommend, man. Okay. E-Myth Revisited. I love that one's great. I really like Never Split the Difference. I forget who wrote that. He was like an ex-hostage negotiator guy. I've read that a couple times. It's a negotiating book, but it's really great. And the third book I'm going to recommend is something that makes you happy that is totally unrelated to business, like sci-fi or something, because you can read business books all day long and think about these principles and never put it into, if you're not taking care of yourself, right? So like maybe on your nightstand, you don't read a money book, but you read The Hobbit, I just put something to make you happy in there. Confidence to start messy. What was the tipping point? Really, my wife has so many times, she was just like, are you going to just stop talking about it? Just do it already. And that's what it was. It's like you and Ryan, every time you see each other, you talk about hot dogs, just do it. Okay. We'll do it. Sorry.
That's just the ultimate stamp of approval there.
I mean, yeah. Trust me, she don't want to hear about hot dogs anymore. But she has been a big help with her amazing Canva abilities. My goodness, beautiful. I'm having to create this consulting business because I haven't been hired in 19 months. I don't know. It's not. Oh, I think that's the one from before. Just leveraging my skills in management. Great. That's awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to go through these a little quickly so we can get to them all. How specifically did you overcome those early disasters with your first customers to keep from getting a reputation right out of the gate? That's a great question. So, make it right. Okay, so we ate it and we overnighted things to people, and overnighting cold food is very expensive, right? And gave them a little something extra. Sorry, they like. Not completely blaming UPS, but like things happen in transit sometimes. We're gonna make it right. Send it immediate, next day, overnight, immediate response to email. And so far that has worked very well. And people, and frankly, a lot of our first early customers were friends and family. We didn't do our first big shipment to people we didn't know until we kind of ironed some of that out. But still, things happen, Somebody got some broken mustards like a week ago. Just send them another one with a thank you and a little piece of gear, and people would be okay with that. Not directly about business, but I realized I want to achieve financial freedom. Easy to say, hard to do. What is financial freedom to you, and what would you? I mean, I want to get there too. No, I think financial freedom to me is the ability to plan your own days, right? Like I work a 9 to 5. I work shifts in the ER. I do this at night and on the weekends sometimes. I actually run I run a expert witness consulting business as well because I'm not busy enough. But I think the ability to plan your days without having a discrete schedule would be what it means to me. And I don't really have advice to get to that level because I'm not there. Man, okay. I'm getting started on TikTok and Instagram because I finally have product I feel I want to start. I will use AI automation. I'm a sassy girl. Love it. Sweet. Yeah, I use AI all the time, every day. Multiple different AI programs, and not necessarily you might as well use it. It's not going away. Doing leadership management. Most of my background is in human service industry. I like to educate others. What would you recommend on a business profit that may be along the lines of a nonprofit? I don't know that I understand that. Sorry. Chris Voss. Yes, thank you. Okay. Oh, consulting business. That's what we answered that. Okay. Yeah, I think a consulting business would work well from an educational perspective, and your margins are massive, right? When it comes to digital consulting. So it's been great.
I have a quick one for you, Andrew.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned the shift from B2C to B2B. Um, I guess looking forward, like what's next? Like what are some things that you're really targeting as you move forward that would be like lofty goals for you?
Sure. I mean, I think the B2C is going to be is going to be evergreen to support the B2B, right? The B2C, I think, will build buzz. Well, we're probably going to do quarterly drops eventually. We're thinking about doing an exclusive drop so that like you kind of got to be in the know, making it almost like a virtual speakeasy, which would be really cool. Uh, but the B2B arm, we want to be the company that people think of when they want to have a really different, really fun event, right? Because if there's nothing else when it comes to Franks and Dranks, uh, it gets people talking, right? Cocktails and hot dogs will get people talking. So the 2026 goals, we're working actually on closing some large partnerships with some people. Unfortunately, I can't disclose at the moment. So if that works out, that will really rocket fuel our B2C arm. Our B2B, we really want to work with universities and larger companies in securing some recurring events for this coming year and continue our community philanthropic service. So we have the Thank a Hero campaign. We would likely do another campaign in the spring that will be probably nonprofit, something we would support in that regard. But yeah, and just keep on putting out really interesting, tasty hot dogs. I mean, we put pumpkin butter on one, we got blueberries on another one. Just we got all sorts of stuff coming your way.
Is that, and I guess I'd love to hear like what is like the current hot dog menu and drink menu? Like what are we looking at these days?
Well, the Founders Box is going to be around for the near future, and that's our pilot, our initial flagship product, and that has like a New York City style hot dog as one. It's got something we call the Devil's Tail, which is a jalapeno cheddar brat. And I'm not going to spoil all the toppings on it, but let's just say it's got a spicy kick to it. And then we've got the third one is the wild card, the showstopper. It's got blueberry pecan jam, pretzels, Chilean hot dogs. I gotta learn about that. So that's the Founders Box, and the Sweater Weather Box, which we launched last month, takes you on a journey from fall to New Year's. And the first dog has pumpkin type flavors. The middle dog has cranberry flavors, and the final one is supposed to be a New Year's firecracker, and it's got a lot of spice on there. So that's our current lineup. Again, I don't want to spoil all the ingredients for everyone, but all the drinks pair very well, and all the drinks utilize one of the hot dog ingredients. No, not the hot dog water, because that's disgusting. But a lot of the different jams are used in the drinks themselves to really kind of tie them together. So, and we'll see what's coming out in spring, but Sweater Weather is only going to be available through the end of the year.
Laura did have a question. At what point do you recommend paying yourself rather than continually putting it back into the business?
I'll tell you when I figure it out. I think it's a really good question that we don't have our answer to yet. We're fortunate. We all have jobs. We're running this on the side. There will be a tipping point, as this scales, where we'll have to start thinking about that. And where do we cut down versus where do we pay ourselves? And I don't have an answer. And I think that's more of a group decision, and we're just not there yet. I'm going to look up Chilean hot dogs later. I have heard of them, but I don't know what they are. How do you maintain a healthy relationship with your friends while working on business together? This is a very good idea. A very good question. I imagine there are differing ideas of menu options, where to spend money, etc. Going into business with friends is like generally frowned upon, especially really close friends. Our chief operating officer, Ryan, is my wife's best friend from growing up husband. And so we see them all the time. And Shane, our creative officer, I met at college orientation. So we have now known each other for 20 years. We have a strong operating agreement that gives voting rights. And our previous silent partner is an attorney who really got our operating agreement together well. But yeah, we protected ourselves with just like Mason and Chat said, with contracts. But we're all pretty friendly. It has not at this point not come to a 2-to-1 vote on anything. We talk it out. It's challenging. We've never had to go to the contract at this point, but we certainly have had different ideas as far as aesthetic and recipes. We've all been pretty spot on. We tried some really disgusting things, but we ended up with some pretty delicious ones. So yeah, roll with the punches, talk to each other. Good communication, throw a funny meme in the group chat once in a while instead of how many styrofoam kits do we need to order.
I'll give people another minute or two to throw some more questions into the chat. Just a reminder, the session is being recorded. Andrew has thrown some fantastic information at us all, and I think it's important to go back and reference some of that. I know a couple of people had mentioned like the slides, some of the wording that you used, Andrew, super impactful. So take advantage of that and go back and rewatch the recording, and also make sure you're filling out that survey. And then I see a couple more questions just came in. Addison, what's one thing you wish you would have known before you started this adventure?
Just really how hard it is to ship frozen food. It is just incredibly so challenging. And everything about it, especially living in New York, because New York's regulations are just out of control. But it is, I'll tell you an interesting story. I can't tell you who somebody is in town, but we were going to work out of a commissary kitchen because we were technically handling food, even though it was all sealed. But New York wanted us to have a warehousing license, not a food service license. So we were going to just assemble the boxes at a commissary kitchen. And then the commissary kitchen was like, well, we don't have enough freezer space to hold your stuff even overnight. So you're going to have to rent a freezer truck out back and then pay the freezer truck and us but you got to pay us monthly, even though you only need us like 2 days out of the month. And so like that's, there goes the entire margin. Right. And so we ended up partnering with another company that has required licenses, has the freezer space for us, who don't want to be mentioned. But the only reason that this worked out is because I called the guy twice. He's like, when you called the second time, I knew you meant business. Old school guy. And so then I talked to him about it and ended up having a meeting with the big boss, who is like 100 years old. We got some cool ideas from him. Who actually suggested creating an AFC championship box with half KC and half Buffalo flavors, which is pretty cool. But sharp guy. But being at the table with like a Buffalo true legend was incredible. But the only reason I got that meeting is because I called twice. So don't forget the follow up. Is another lesson.
All right, I want to just remind everybody, like I said, session recorded. Make sure you're checking that out. I want to give you, Andrew, the floor to kind of wrap us up and close us out here. I mean, your story alone, like just hearing it, I think it's inspirational for others to certainly, maybe they take that next step and have that confidence to be able to take this idea into action. But want to just give you the floor to close this out here, and anything that maybe we didn't touch on that you feel like would be important for everyone to know.
Zach in the chat actually just said, it really seems like your willingness and ability to build and seek out relationships has been your biggest strength in moving the needle for the business. And that is 100% true, right? Like, we get caught up in all of the fancy tools we have now, right? we've got Instagram and TikTok, and we've got AI, and we've got all this crazy stuff. But sometimes you just got to call people. And I know it's like very anti whatever right now. But that is my strength. And you need to play to your own strengths. It is not Ryan's strength to go call people on the phone. It is not Shane's strength. I like talking to people. But you need to figure out what your strength is and then leverage that. And so this worked for us, but maybe your strength is video editing. I don't know. But mine is building relationships, strategic partnerships. And so I leverage that to move forward. And the important thing is to just move forward and do it. And if you fail, you learn, right? So that's my biggest thing. And talk to people. Just talk to people. Whether it's if you're looking for a job, starting a business, trying to get a date, whatever, just talk to people. I talk to people on airplanes. My wife hates it, but at the end of the day, you're going to meet some really interesting people that way. And please reach out. I'm very LinkedIn active and aware, so I'll answer all your questions on there if you want to reach out to me. And if anyone's trying to have a awesome night in for 4 to 8 of your friends, check out Franks and Drinks.
This was fantastic, Andrew. I really appreciate you taking the time and jumping in and sharing your insights and with us here, with our students, alumni, and staff members. There's something I feel like we all can take away from this, and I think it's just the ability to continue to persevere. And you have an idea, you're sticking to it, and to your point, like continuing to talk to people and not lose that ability to communicate. So we certainly appreciate you jumping in. Appreciate everybody jumping on. Like I said, hopefully you take a few things away from this and apply it to some of the ideas that you have. But thank you again, Andrew, for jumping in, sharing insight, and everybody check out the website. Feel like have a nice dinner party planned and subscribe to a nice box.
Thank you, RJ, and thank you for the opportunity, and thanks everyone for coming.
All right, everyone, have a fantastic rest of the evening. Take care, and certainly check out more events that we have coming down the pipeline here in Career and Professional Development. Career Quest is right around the corner. So if you haven't attended a Career Quest session, highly recommend it. That starts in the beginning of January. So great opportunity, especially if you're looking for opportunities. We have quite a few employers that will be joining us that are actively looking to hire our WGU students and graduates. So certainly take advantage of that. And thank you everyone for jumping in, and have a great rest of the evening. Take care.